Hello everybody, and in today's video we are going to be looking at this storm currently ongoing, or at least starting, in much of the Northeast, as well as our weekly weather outlook across the United States. We'll be covering temperatures, the frigid temperatures in much of the eastern and central portions of the lower 48 we'll see, as well as precipitation and any other wintry weather events possible this week, or the lack of. But anyways, let's get into the high-res NAM. Jumping into this current storm, you can see by the time you're watching this, maybe you're watching this a week from now, maybe you're watching this in 5 hours after I put this out. But anyways, we have some snow falling across southern Michigan, western New York. This is just the onset of precipitation for this incoming low-pressure system in New York State. As you can see, that precipitation picks up and moves northeast. We have rain changing to snow across much of Ohio and northwest Pennsylvania. And then by the time we get into tonight, Monday night, we have rain changing to snow across all of Ohio, as well as western Pennsylvania, central New York, northern New England, and really actually in Maine, snow will change to a wintry mix of sleet and freezing rain as the low pressure makes its way northeast into the area. But for most other regions down into upstate New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, we'll have rain changing to potentially maybe an hour of sleet or freezing rain, especially in eastern New York and northeast PA. But for most other areas, it'll just be rain to snow. And then as we follow this into Tuesday morning, you can see that that rain-snow line has moved all the way into eastern New York and also eastern Pennsylvania. By the time sunrise, maybe you won't be able to see the sun really rise, but across eastern PA, southern New York at this point, and also central northern New England will have rain changing to snow. So we don't expect this to have a big impact on the morning commute, as temperatures are going to be really marginal. Let's just look at temperatures real quick so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. So, we're looking at 33, 32 degrees across much of the area. We might have some areas that are 30, 31, but, shouldn't really make too much of a difference on the relatively warm surfaces. So we're not expecting much of an impact on the Tuesday morning commute, besides just some, festive snow showers to bring in the winter season. And then behind this, we're going to have some pretty impressive lake effect snow bands streaming off of lakes Erie and Ontario. So starting with Erie, should be including far northeast Ohio, as well as much of northwest PA, and even much of western PA. We'll have some snow squalls roaming the area Tuesday afternoon, and then that'll really be focused on northwest PA by the time we get into Wednesday morning, and also some streamers coming off of Ontario into central New York, portions of western New York as well. So that is what we are looking at for this upcoming storm. The snowfall map remains pretty similar to what we had last night, in that you can see a pretty wide swath of 6 to 10 inches and potentially a little bit more in the higher elevations from northwest PA to much of western and northern New York into northern New England, all looking at 6 to 10 inches. And then lake effect should add a few additional inches on top of that. And then south of these areas, it gradually falls off from 6 to 10 to maybe 2 to 4 to maybe 1 to 2 by the time you get into northeast PA and eastern New York. And then we're only looking at maybe a dusting in eastern Pennsylvania and much of southern New England. Maybe even Virginia. We'll have to watch that. But so that is what we are looking at in terms of this current event. Now let's look at our weekly temperatures and precipitation. As you probably have known and are soon to feel, we are going to have, it's going to be cold. Let's just say that. It's going to be pretty freaking cold. As we get into midweek, you'll see temperatures 20 to 30 degrees below average pretty much across the entire East Coast, with the remainder of Florida probably going to be sitting, nice and warm down there in Miami at like 75 degrees. I mean, we're all down here like triple layered, well, I guess up here, but here we are heading into late week. You can see the cold finally kind of erodes. We do have maybe another shock coming in next weekend, but then after that, I know this is kind of going beyond the winter or the weekend, the weekly outlook, but the GEFS kind of wants to bring in a little bit more warmth, but I feel like there's kind of a bias in the GEFS and the Euro to kind of bring in a little bit more warmth in the long range and kind of, get rid of some cold, because you can see there is some cold coming into the northwest, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. But anyways, let's get into the temperatures and precipitation for this upcoming week. So it will be a relatively dry week across much of the lower 48, really. I mean, besides this one storm early week, we're going to have dry conditions across all of the southern U.S. for the most part, except South Texas. So they could have a few showers towards the middle of the week, and then the northern U.S. From the Dakotas into the northern Great Lakes. Besides this little area just east of Marquette, some lake effect there, but really a relatively dry week. And I mean, I keep saying relatively, but it's going to be dry. I mean, we don't expect much in the way of precipitation besides maybe some early week snow and rain showers down in Tennessee and Kentucky and Virginia. But besides that, it's looking pretty dry. And then out west, even drier. We don't really expect any precipitation whatsoever in these dark orange areas. And then in the northwest, we do see some precipitation working its way into the area by mid and late week, I believe. Let's go back and look at the GFS real quick. I know most of you probably are not from this area, but yeah, we'll have a quick round of showers and even some inland snow by the time we get into midweek, and then that's about it until we get to Friday, and then another kind of typical or similar event. And then, so yeah, that's where the above average precip in the northwest comes from, but besides that, should be a relatively dry week. There we go again with relatively. Temperature outlook, yeah, you could pretty much see this coming in that it's going to be very, very well below average. So here we are, probably 20 to 30 degrees below average in this pink area. Still probably days of 20 to 30 degrees below average, especially on Wednesday in all of these blue areas. As we work our way down the Gulf Coast, maybe 15 degrees below average, but either way, it's going to be pretty cold. These lighter blue areas, we expect the cold to kind of, the below average temps at least, to kind of work their way east as the week progresses. So, back in Kansas and really the Central Plains, the earlier and the middle part of the week is going to be colder than the later part of the week. So that's what we are looking at as far as temperatures. And then it's on the West Coast, should be a pretty warm week, above average temps. It's crazy when you look at Denver weather. They started off, really the fall with 2 back-to-back snowstorms, and then just a matter of days ago, highs were approaching 80 degrees. Mid this week, they're going to drop down into the 30s, and then by late week, they're going to work their way back up into the 50s and 60s. So that's kind of how it is out west, especially in the Rockies. But we expect much of the western U.S. to see mainly above average temperatures. So that has been not only the weekly summary, but we also covered the early week storm. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, as we will have many more updates this upcoming winter season.